I mean, there's no guidebook to a pandemic, right? I keep looking on internet, what to do during a pandemic, and no existe, it doesn't exist. And, I'm somebody that has always, my sense of direction usually goes with the flow versus against it. And yeah, it's such a surreal moment. I know I'm not the first one to use that word, but I felt like Mother Nature was sort of going, be quiet, get off the merry-go-round for a little bit.
Mhm.
I feel like she's kind of saying that to humanity, but I took that a little bit literally, and I've had the great fortune to actually be able to do that in a place where I'm not confined and surrounded by sirens and chaos and all of this. We were in New York for the very first week or so of it, and it became clear that I didn't want to stay in that place if possible, with all due admiration to what New York is, how they're pulling through, of course. And so I've taken the sort of directive to stay quiet. And it's a strange, because in the opera world, have generally been one of the more outspoken ones, doing a lot of things on social media and putting myself out there a lot. And I feel kind of strongly that I'm trying to strike the balance between support and being linked to this industry and finding the best way to go through it, because it's full of uncertainty at this moment. But at the same time, I have this rejection of that urge to be distracted and entertained right now. I feel like there's something bigger to be gained from this moment. And I want to take advantage, for the first time really in my life, that I have been able to stop. And I don't want that moment to go by and not have mined it for everything that I can, because I don't know, once this passes, I don't know when we get this kind of moment of real solitude and quiet again.
Do either of you think your approach, once we do get back to some sense of togetherness, at least, if not normalcy, do you think the way you approach art will change? Do you think the way you approach connecting with public will change?
I don't think we're going to have a choice. I don't know exactly what the world has planned, right? The opera world has planned in terms of how we're going to transition into the new reality. Like, let's just say there's a vaccine available miraculously, and all of a sudden everybody can go and do everything that they are normally used to doing, right? Full theaters, full opera productions where you have lots of intimate scenes with everybody. I don't know if that's possible, but say that theoretically is. I think it's impossible not to be touched by this situation, and the sort of lack of human contact with more than the person you're quarantined with, or your little close circle. I think it's going to be a little bit odd at first. I think human beings are really adaptable, just like, especially like Joyce, looking at the silver lining of things, right? If you're adaptable to that quiet, I think it's like we're getting into that habit energy of that disconnection, physical disconnection from people, and less to do and quiet. I think it's going to take like a revving up of the engine, really, as a performer, to just get the voice moving again, to get used to acting alongside your colleagues again. I would like to hope that it's like riding a bicycle and it's all going to happen. But some days I just wake up and I say, can I still sing? I just try to do a couple.
Matthew, it's a really good question. And I don't think any of us have the answer just yet, because it is clear already we're different. And I don't think we should return to normal. I think it's an extraordinary open field for us now to determine how we emerge from this. It is one reason I'm also going a little bit more the route of the hermit a little bit at this time, because I sense that when we do start coming out, I'm going to need a lot of energy. Right. And I want it to be fresh energy. I want it to be guided by where we are now and not what we're trying to relive from 5 years ago. And I think for that, as artists, you need some creative space. You need to be able to have the luxury of tuning into where we are now and saying, okay, now what do I want to say? I do think one of the most obvious and greatest things for us that has come from this is how clear it is, as if it wasn't before, but it's more acute now, how much the arts have to give in these moments, and how we have to lead the way through this and the way out of it. Because it is everything you're saying, Nicole. It is about connection to people, because we're going to need to know how to reconnect safely. And I'm not talking about germ-wise, but how to trust each other again, how to walk out of here and take somebody by the hand and really connect to them. And I think it's clearly not going to be politicians that do that work for us. It's not going to be legislation. It's going to be artists that are brave and take the lead and say, here's what it's like to be together again. And also, we understand what you've gone through. We understand what despair is, and loneliness and isolation. And the arts can give people that place where they know that they're not alone, even if they're physically alone.
How are you both approaching vocal health at the moment? You know, as you say, this is a period where things have just stopped. It's a completely different approach to the pacing of life. How much do you need to think about vocal health in this period?
In all sincerity, I'm considering this a free period right now, except for a few things, because I think actually, I've been busy over the last 21 years in my career, thankfully, but I've been busy, and I think it's going to serve me really well to really take a rest. It's clear that we're not going to be on stage next week. So I'm planning on really using this time to nurture other parts of myself and not just this. And then, I know it will be minimal, like a 3-month project to come back into like top form. If I really take these, say, 2 or 3 months off, I need a solid 2 to 3 months, slowly going back to basics and coming back. But I'm such a geek about vocalizing and all of that I think I'm going to go back to page 1 of the Marchese exercises and just like start from ground zero. We'll see if the engine still works when I have to come out. But what I anticipate is it might actually add some time to my little old career, because I think to take some stress off of it, rest, and then go back to fundamentals again, which I rarely, I would always keep that in my thing, but I would rarely really take the time to go back to square one, because it just didn't exist for me.
Right.
It was always the next role. So again, I'm trying to really look at this and say, how can I make the best of it?
And you really hit the nail on the head with the whole time thing. When you think about the golden age of singing and how long it would take somebody to cross the Atlantic and just rest and get their voice prepared for their next job, and they were always able to take the time and vocalize. They weren't necessarily singing 2 operas at one time, which you and I have both done. Learning Mozart recitative when you're singing Puccini, this is the life of the singers now. And it's not necessarily the healthiest. So having that time is a weird concept for us. And if you keep singing through it, here and there, just a little scale, a little bit here and there, just to keep it alive, that's something. I think myself personally, the best I'm doing right now is recovering from learning how to make nightly cocktails. Oh, I've learned 7 different cocktails this week. I have all that time, and you wake up the next day. But then when I'm feeling good, taking the time to watch a lot of operas and kind of read a lot of books, and I'm actually finding, strangely, that I'm singing a little bit better when I'm singing, because I'm trying to retrain myself, not retrain myself, but train myself in some new techniques, and listening, having the time to listen to the great singers, just getting it in my ears. Time is a little bit of a luxury now to be able to do that.
Yeah. If we have the space to do that, I think that's one of the great gifts of this, is because how many times have we always said, and I'm the worst culprit of that, I just wish I had another week in the year, or another month, or another day in the week, or I wish I had another hour. Well, okay. All right, here we go.